calm down.
Well, my mom made us dinner tonight. You know, how much do you want me to say about this? After Austin asked her to make him ribs because
She makes better ribs.
she makes the best ribs. So since I don't have to make dinner, I'm going to answer some questions.
It's time for Ask the Cowgirl. Now, usually in the intro I correct you, and then people yell at me for correcting you, so I'm not going to correct you today. There's our intro. Today we have some really good questions. We have some questions about our breeding strategy. How do we decide
how many kids we're having? No, not that kind.
What else do we have on the docket today?
We've got how to include little kids with work around the homestead.
Yep. And we cover a little bit more about living debt-free and credit cards and stuff. So we got a lot of good questions. Shall we dive into the first one?
Yes.
We are going to do what we did last week with Ask Homes. Well, this is Ask the Cowgirl, where we ask, Kay sits in with us, our resident cowgirl, and she answers a lot of your cow questions. Today there's some cow questions. There's also a lot of family life questions, goat questions, breeding questions.
So I don't know, answering everything this week, I guess.
What we're gonna do, what we did last week, people seem to like it. We're gonna split this into a part A and a part B. So today you'll have part A, and then Saturday you'll have part B, or Sunday whenever I get the video out. So stay tuned for part B of Ask the Cowgirl, and they'll be about a half hour each. First question.
Kind of went along with our Thursday's video this week when we talked about downsizing the stuff we have on the farm, kind of going through our things, cleaning, tidying up a little bit. Tony Franklin asked us, she said, I'm a bit of a clean freak. I sympathize. Do you think I will have a hard time when I start my homestead? I realize there are some things I will probably have to relax about. She mentioned some other homesteads she watches, ours that she wants to clean up when she's watching. Said, how can I learn to let that go? On a farm, I know things can't be perfect all the time. Will it come with time to let small things like that go, or should I just take the extra time? I know the answer will probably be it will come in time when I go frustrated with the animal messes and realize that is just the way it is. What do you think?
Tony, you sound like my wife. I am, shocker, not the clean freak around here. I am a mess waiting to happen everywhere I go. I describe myself as a beautiful mess.
Yes.
Beautiful with the mustache.
I don't think a mess needs to go hand in hand with a farm. I'm a firm believer that, and I've seen barns and farms that are beautifully immaculate.
Horse farms don't count.
No, they're cow farms. They're dairy farms, but they're kept very clean. They have their systems set up, which cows lay down in sawdust to get up. They're free stalls, so they have to stand up, back up to poop. Poop goes into a channel. It cleans it up. It's probably not going to be what your homestead looks like right away. There's some mechanization involved there. Mechanization. There we go. What are you doing?
We don't edit. Keep talking.
I don't know what you're doing though.
I'm trying to make it so this doesn't shut off.
Oh. I think it's possible to have a clean farm. I think you will just get used to it though. So, if there was hay on the floor of your house, it would bother you. If there's hay on the floor of the barn, it will not bother you as much, is my prediction.
The nature of a lot of homesteaders, which is I think what you're seeing on YouTube a lot, and just in general if you see a lot of homesteads that you drive by or whatever, is to try to save a lot of unnecessary things because we might be able to find a use for it. Doesn't sound like that's going to be a problem for you, Tony. We, from time to time, get chastised in the comments about things we throw away. People saying, that's still good, you can still use it. And yes, in Thursday's video I threw away, I didn't even throw away, I just said we're going to get rid of these, a pile of old saws, because we have no use for them. So we can give them, give them away, tag sales, Craigslist, whatever. And people were like, why are you throwing those away? And really, we have learned, even me, there is serious value in keeping an organized and neat farm because it will streamline your daily chores. It will help your mental health. I have vowed on this farm not to have a giant junk pile like I did on our last farm.
And to have a place for everything. And something I've learned with working with people is if you have a time where you have to stop working, take 15 minutes before that time happens and put your tools away. That's our goal. A place for everything and everything in its place.
Now it sounds like, again, you're not going to have that problem. It sounds like you're going to have the opposite problem, which is not freaking out too much. And I do from time to time try to tell you, like, we need to be reasonable. So there's a balance, but I don't think you need to get over your desire to be neat.
No.
I wish I had more of a desire.
Yeah, it's okay. It's what we were working on at Squash Hollow, our last farm. It was the year of form and function, which meant we wanted everything to have a purpose, everything to work well to do that purpose, and we wanted it to look nice. I did not like walking out to the barn on the homestead and seeing garbage and junk everywhere.
Generally speaking, people value what looks beautiful, and I think more and more people would value small homesteads and farms. There'd be less like government rules about who could have a garden if gardens all looked beautiful. If everybody's garden looked gorgeous, then everyone's front yard could have a garden in it because everyone would want to see that. But instead, people's gardens, like, and I'm guilty of this, look trashy and have a lot of junk in them. And so people are like, I don't want to see that. So good on you, Tony, for wanting to keep things neat. Yep. You can come over here anytime and help me with sorting my stuff, Tony. It's funny, Tony specifically mentioned hay that we have kind of on the floor of our barn, wanting to sweep it up.
So you know, when you throw hay bales down, or when you're cutting open a bale of hay to feed hay to the animals, there's always some hay that will naturally just fall off.
And then, in addition to that, when you keep animals inside the barn, like we have in the wintertime here a lot, you get all the hay that they're pooping and peeing on and trampling and sleeping on. Mama Two Boys says, what do you do with the used hay from the floor? So I think she's talking about the hay that has already been peed on and slept on.
Well, I'll take it a step before that. The hay that just falls off when we throw the hay bales down, or we sweep that up every couple of days, and I use that for bedding for the cows. So that kind of gets pushed to the back of the barn. They poop and pee on it, and then it's all yucky.
Once they poop and pee on it, we load it up into our gator, our little 4x4, and we drive it across the property into a corner where we have been dumping all our manure, all our bedding, all the used poopy carbon,
organic material, yeah.
And
so,
we're composting it. It's just a big compost pile.
It's our big fertilizer pile.
Yeah.
So we'll let that mature, and then we'll use it in the gardens.
We found with big piles like that, if you have a way you can flip them once in a while, it's not hot compost, it's going to take a long time to be usable, but we're in no rush to garden, so.
I also don't keep it by the barn because that attracts flies and other pests like that. So we keep it, it's not as far as it seems like when we do the videos, because usually we're driving around a ton of fences. It's a straight shot, like back behind the barn in the far pastures. And that's one of the jobs we actually use the kids to do, is sweeping that hay. It's the broom, and the hay is light enough that my 5-year-old can do that by herself. Which brings us to the next question by Rochelle Ford. She asks, I was wondering, how do you involve young kids, hers is 2.5, into helping with animals? I currently only have rabbits and pigs, but I'm wanting to get goats or something in the future. I'm also going to have a baby in a couple weeks. How would you be able to juggle a new baby, toddler, and homestead? Thank you. How do you juggle a baby? You know, the baby I'd carry, baby wear. That's how I would do it, doing chores, as long as it's not too icy or dangerous situation. If your pigs are full grown, I wouldn't go in with them baby wearing. And, you know, I'd usually try to have somebody else at least there with me if I were going in and handling full grown pigs. But as far as with the baby and the toddler, baby wear your baby. The toddler, if it's chores they can help with, feeding the rabbits, you know, have them scoop the feed and put it into the bowl, have them hold the water while you fill it. All those kind of little things that toddlers like, they like to do it. They like to be helpful. Our 8-year-old was helping our 2-year-old today in the barn, and they carried the bucket of feed together, and he said, Mommy, Daddy, look at this little big guy. How strong he is, he's helping. And our 2-year-old loved it. He really had fun today, which isn't always the case. There are those days where he finds his way to grandma's house because he says, I'm not working in the barn.
One of the things to remember, well, you have a 2.5-year-old, so you already know this. They're not known for their cooperation.
Their compliance, huh?
So, generally speaking, they're not going to be helpful at 2.5. They're going to slow you down. And I think one of the most valuable things you can do for your kids is get them involved. So what that's going to mean for you, you didn't mention anyone else involved in this, a partner. So if it's just you involved in this homestead thing and now your little ones, you're probably best off slowing yourself down so that you can enjoy it with your little ones, as opposed to ramping up too much before they're older. Now we are fortunate we have 8 and 7-year-olds who really enjoy their animals, like doing their things in the barn.
Most of the time. They still have those days.
So they can do a lot now for their own animals. And in that case now Kay has a cow, but she didn't have a cow or any of just her animals when we had just 2-year-old and a baby.
No.
So I guess what I'm saying is just, you're mentioning wanting to get more, but if you're going to enjoy this with your kids, you should probably go a little bit slower until they're old enough to go and do more with you. And then if your 2-year-old at that point's 5 and they like chickens, they have their own chickens, and now you do your other things. And you grow slower, but it's better. I think it's best for your kids because then they're involved and they enjoy it. And it's not just you trying to get the work done and having a crying baby strapped to you.
Yeah, or 2 babies in a play yard who are crying for you.
Yeah.
You're like, hold on, I'm almost done. We've been there.
Yeah.
We've done it. We've had little ones, in their pack and play screaming because mommy had to get the work done, and it's not fun.
No, so just take it slow and enjoy it with your little ones, and then when they're a little bit bigger, you can go crazy. Within reason. The next question is actually a much older question. Charisse asked this, and the reason it's on today's video at all is because she added the hashtag #AskTheCowgirl. If you want to make sure to get Kay to answer one of your questions specifically, put that hashtag #AskTheCowgirl. It's an old question, but it was a great one, so we threw it in today. We found it because of the hashtag.
Yeah,
so
it might
good
just
job,
take
Charisse.
a while. Might take a while for me to answer.
Yeah, we don't get her. We get her once every
2 months.
Well, this
I
was
guess.
2 months ago, so yeah.
She says, we're moving to a home similar to your old home, which is 1569 square feet and 10 acres.
It's pretty close.
Very
it's almost
close.
exactly.
We have 4 kids, 7, 4, 2, and 10 months. So
wow.
They're similar. Any tips for Charisse? We'll eventually have animals, but are taking your advice on waiting for a bit. But are there any tips from one mom to another? Man, do we tell everybody to wait a bit?
Too many people get fired up from YouTube videos and then you burn out. We do. Yeah. We really preach. Take it slow. Get your 4 chickens. Go ahead, get your 4 chickens.
Yeah, because the kids are like that too.
Everyone likes 4 chickens, but then go slow. Don't go crazy after those 4 chickens.
You've already got 4 kids.
Yeah.
Tips for a small house. And I know when you tell people you live in 1,500 square feet, they think, oh, that's not a small house. But with 4 kids, it can feel very small, especially because 4 kids can be very loud. We've had complaints in one of our videos about the kids were so loud. Yeah, we know. They're loud. Hopefully you have some maybe basement or attic space that you can convert into some sort of playroom for the kids to just go down and scream in. We eventually did that at Squash Hollow. Then I am a proponent of keeping toys to a minimum. They can only play with so many toys. The rest get broken and are just a big mess to clean up. I do not like having many toys. Also, storage. You're only going to have so much storage space. And I know you keep clothes because it saves you tons of money passing clothes down from one to the other to the other. Plus, if you're seasonal, you got winter clothes. Clothes take up so much space. So be very picky about the things you keep. And, utilize storage to the best of your ability. Underbeds. What do you have to say?
I have to say,
He
she's
doesn't
really
anything.
good at this. Any of you who want Kay to just take over Ask Homesteady and like give me the day off, comment below.
No way.
You're really good. You're like super to the point, but great info. My answer, I'd still be on question 1. This might not be a 2-parter.
I am the minimalist.
I love it. No, it's really good. I would add, sure, I'd love to add 15 minutes of rambling, but really have a space for play, keep the toys to a minimum, storage.
I was pretty regular at getting rid of things.
Yes.
Especially having kids, and I never felt like yelling at the kids all the time. So I didn't keep a lot of things out for them to get into.
When people would visit our house back in Connecticut, it was decorated sparsely.
Yes.
It's funny, I look back at pictures of us before we moved, and then as we were leading up to the move, and the only difference was like there was very little stuff in the house, and then there was very little stuff and no couches. So it was like we just didn't have a lot of things to be broken or, decorations or things.
It's the way I just like everything.
You obviously have a goal to get into the homesteading way of things, so my only addition, the only thing I can really add to this is you're already taking it slow. She asked for tips from a mama to a mama, but
you can definitely do it. You can
Yeah.
have 6 people in a house that size and be comfortable. We were very comfortable.
yeah. One of the biggest things we moved here for, we knew the house we'd be moving into would have a finished basement, and that was very
Having
nice.
a play space that was separate from our living space, our open living space, was really nice to have.
Yeah, so if you can manage something like that, above or below,
Yeah.
put that in the budget. Speaking of one of the reasons we came here to own this, we're actually in the house we'll be living in soon. We have a lot of new viewers since last year's great move began. So just to quickly rehash if you're newer, or to help people remind the newer ones, we've moved to Pennsylvania to live in the house she grew up in, which is the house we're filming this in. We're currently living above a garage in a small apartment space, which is 1,000 square feet. I think we'll do a really good video on like how to live in 1,000 square feet with way too many kids.
Again,
when
the
we
answer
move
is
out
storage.
of there. The answer is move out of it in 6 months. But now we're going to be moving into this bigger house. There has been a lot of questions, especially last week when we talked about living a debt-free life, staying out of debt, not using credit cards. A lot of people are asking about the details of how we got to own this or be here.
Yeah, basically, some said nicely, like, sure, it's easy to live debt-free when you have a house and farm and implements given to you.
Right. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to cover in an upcoming couple videos, like a series, our debt-free or low debt way of life before we were here, what we got to this point with, how we actually are going to be eventually the owners of this, but we're not yet, and then also talk about debt-free living and not using credit cards, and if that's only possible to someone who has help from others.
Yeah, who has it given to you.
So we're going to cover all those questions. There were a lot of those questions. We're going to get to most of those later, but we did have one really good one that we wanted to cover today on, actually from a good friend of ours.
Good friend, relative, Doria.
Yeah. So she says, I really appreciate your debt-free way of life. I know that must feel great. Just a thought, and maybe it was mentioned, who cares about credit score? Sure, we don't worry about the credit score. She doesn't. But with the right credit card, you can earn points which will go towards other free things for your family, such as airline miles and such. All you have to do is pick a card and then pay it every month. And since you're going to pay cash for the item, you would already have the cash on hand. Just wonder what your thought on that is. I really liked this question. For one, we have a little bit of insight on who we're talking to here. We know Javi and Dory are family and really good friends of ours. And we could imagine how they would use this because they have family members that they visit every year
Out of the country.
out of the country, and they have children. So imagine spending money on plane tickets for, we just were talking about this recently, wanting to fly somewhere with our soon to be 5 kids, it would cost us a fortune. And with the right credit card, if we used it like Dory mentions here, where we have the cash, we pay it back instantly, we don't use it for debt, we just use it as a tool to get miles, why not do that? So first off, we want to say, when we share our personal decisions and things, we're not telling anybody what to do. That right there could be a very smart decision for your personal family. And as we know with like Javi and Dory, they travel a lot. So for them, that might be the best decision, financially even. So why don't we, because we have thought about it, why don't we do this ourselves?
Because I don't want to keep track of these things. I'm afraid it'll get lost for us. Like, if you're using the credit card for something and I'm not knowing about it, all of a sudden 2 months we're late on our credit card, that kind of thing is personally why I don't like to use a credit card at all.
When you select a debt way free of life, and I talked about this last week, it's a lifestyle, so you're going to have to choose to have some things, and you're going to have to, other things you're going to say, well, I'm not going to get to have that. You can have anything, but you can't have everything. So with something like this, we look at the pros for us personally. We don't have any big travel plans, any plane tickets we need to buy. It is one less thing for you to pay attention to. The reason credit card companies exist is because they make money off people who use them. Credit cards are not a kindness to anyone. They're a business. Credit card companies are a business trying to make money off the people who use them. And so with credit cards and air miles, there's 2 ways that they count on you making them money. The first is getting mixed up and forgetting, and now you owe them not only that money but a little bit extra. And while we were always pretty good when we actually did use credit cards, were there any times that we slipped up and missed a payment?
Yeah.
So it happened to us. And then the second thing, which is really interesting, credit cards use this gaming system to encourage people to spend more money. Like anybody who has a rewards program.
Starbucks.
Yeah, we use the Starbucks rewards program. And I guarantee you I'd buy more Starbucks coffee before I was a member of their reward program. And you think like, hey, I got a free coffee.
You buy more now that you're a member than before.
Before I was a member. So credit cards do this gaming system where, hey, I won points, which encourages you to use them more, maybe on things you would not. And there have been studies to show that you can wind up spending somewhere between 12 and 15% more money than the same person who pays cash, because it hurts to hand cash over. And so for us, it could be curtailing some of that spending.
Now, we have some work to do on this debt-free. We're not at all saying we're great and perfect at this. There are definitely coming into our new move in life here in Pennsylvania, some steps we need to take to just keep track of our money better as far as using cash versus debit and things like that. But the not using credit has really helped us through our 10 years of being together, just kind of avoiding that the surprise bills that you're like, oh no, Austin, what did you buy on the credit card? Because we don't have money to pay that this month. Yeah,
it just is a protection. So we lose out on those air miles. We know Javi and Dory, they do a lot of traveling. Javi has a business where he could be spending lots of money and then getting paid that money from his client and cover the miles.
Yeah.
If that works for you and your family, that's a personal decision. We're not telling you how to run your finances. It can be a good tool for...
I knew one old timer who used it for gas, and he, the old timers with their, kept track of everything so
balancing
well.
the
Yeah, the
checkbook.
checkbook and everything, and he was got his check in the mail to the credit card company every month. He got his gas points, and it worked really good for him.
It's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
And for us, we know how we handle our finances. It's better that we don't invite the credit card into the equation. We just know that about ourselves. So it's one of the reasons we've chosen no credit cards.
Hi, Dory.
And it is tempting sometimes. We've looked into those that travel mile stuff. It's like, I'm spending the money anyway.
But we don't, that's the thing.
That's kind of all the lifestyle questions we had to cover today. We're going to dive into some questions about milking and breeding in the part B of this video. So stay tuned for that, coming out probably tomorrow morning or Sunday morning, or it's coming out soon.
Soon.
So stay tuned for that video. If you like Ask Homesteady, the fact that we take time out of our week every week to answer your questions, you can support our show in 2 ways. Become a Homesteady Pioneer, link below for that. $5 a month, comes out to 25 cents per episode, and really is the only way we're able to produce this show. And if you shop on Amazon, type in www.amsteady.com first, or click on the link we have below. We'll get a bonus for sending you there. And don't use your credit card when shopping on Amazon. Use a debit card. Somebody asked me, how can I shop through Homesteady if I can't use a credit card? You'll use your debit card. Sign up, debit card.
They're making us feel bad.
Yeah, use a debit
We're all
card.
works in progress,
That's
right?
it.
Just work
Amen.
in progress.
I'll let her lead this out. She's more tech. More class, but less stash.